Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Money Mondays on this Blizzard Apocalypse Day. I am Paul Johnson. I am the Director of Economic and Community Development here at GPCOG, and I am here with.
Belinda Ray, the Director of Strategic Partnerships here at GPCOG. And I am here with the wind whistling in the background. The way my house is built, for some reason, it sounds like a ghost every time, whoo, every time the wind blows. Seriously, it's bad.
And we want to thank everybody for bolding the elements out there to come to Money Mondays. That's
Yeah.
kind of a joke because you're probably all still home, but
Well,
I'm ready, and Anne, I think you're in the audience. This one's for you today, Anne, because today I'm going to cover some SBA resources, some small business administration resources. I am not covering everything they're offering. So really, what if what I give you show you today piques your interest? Click on a couple of links, but more importantly, sign up for their newsletter. It's super informative. It's one of those things where there's a ton more resources for small businesses than you think there is, and so it's worthwhile. I get the newsletter. Usually there's 3 or 4 resources at your fingertips that you might not know exists when you get it. So with that, I will just highlight 2 that piqued my interest today. Is number 1, there is a Ready to Grow Your Business. I believe they entitle it something for CEOs, but it's 2.5-hour module sessions each week starting March 26th on March 26th of this month. So you have a month to sign up. And those are the weekly topics. I abridged them a little bit for my slide deck here, so I encourage you to click on the link and check it out. But the reason why I like this is it's in York County, but it is open to anybody in Cumberland County as well, and it's also in person. So it's not just webinars where maybe you space out because it's 2.5 hours long. It is in person. There is no virtual option. And it's specifically not for startups, so to speak. It's for people that have established businesses. Doesn't mean it has to be the world's biggest business, but it really helps you through that, let's call the second phase of business. And it's nice to have nice, meaty in-person options available. So that is the first one I will pitch today. And the second one, and I apologize for the font here, but this is essentially AI resources for Maine manufacturers. So it's a little bit different, specifically for manufacturers, and it is. But I can't quite remember where it's hosted. I have a hunch it's probably hosted at the Rue Institute, but I could be wrong, just because Rue Institute is a panelist there. But you'll see there, City of Brewer, Rue Institute, Maine Technology Institute. Really, informative groups. I have not worked with City of Brewer personally, but the other 2 have always been super good resources for us. I think we pitched Maine Innovation Day a couple weeks ago. That was a tremendous event. So I just encourage you, if you're a small, medium, large manufacturer, or you know of somebody in your town, click on the link there and check out the details. I think both those places bring you to registration pages. Just because I try to be efficient. And if you're super interested in it, you can register them, but never be afraid to go back one and see what else is offered. So that is my pitch for some resources that the Small Business Administration has out there today, just 2 of them, but also encourage you to take the time to sign up for their newsletter, because whenever you think there's nothing out there for businesses, read that newsletter. There's 4 or 5 things you're going to get every single month. So,
thanks, Paul.
yeah.
Excuse me. And I'm talking today about the Maine Trails Program, which is probably familiar to you because we talked about it almost a year ago when the first round came out. So this is the second round of the program. The maximum award here is $250,000. That's limited to up to 8 projects. The rest of the projects can receive up to $150,000. The deadline to get your application in is June 26th. 2026, so 4 months, about 4 months from today. So just to refresh, the Maine Trails Program came out of a bond in 2024. It was a $30 million bond passed by the voters. It will have about $3 million in matching contributions, bringing $33 million into putting together trail systems in the state, which is exciting. $7.5 million was awarded in the first year. There's another up to $7.5 million this year, and then that will be the same in the next 2 years. If ever they do not award all 7.5 million, it rolls to the next year. So there could be some bonus years, but they did award all of it in year one. If you get this money, your money has to be obligated by November 4th, 2034. So you have some time to spend it once you get it. It is a purpose of the grant, of this grant funding, is looking to seek, looking to produce trails and proposals that do a lot of different things. They want linkages between destinations, networks, so those kinds of trails. They want things that will enhance tourism and economic development. They want to address landowners' concerns. So if your trail needs a right of way through a property, they want to make sure that the landowners are on board, that you're not just proposing this without having talked to anyone that might be impacted around the trail. And they want it to be sustainable for whatever the usage is. So if you think it's going to have 75,000 people on it a year, it needs to be able to sustain that kind of traffic over time. They don't want these trails to need to be repaired right after being created or worked on. They also want to make sure these trails serve a broad range of users, that they're close to people, both the way they are located and the way they are designed. People can get to them pretty easily. All ages and abilities. They want things that are well planned. They want to make sure they address conflicts between user groups. And one of the most common conflicts is a rail trail, right? If people want a rail corridor, but other people want to use it for bike commuting, that can be a conflict. So find a way that both uses can exist together, that user groups are not going to injure one another. Everybody's safe using the trail, whether you're on a bike or you're walking or using a motorized wheelchair or whatever. Matching resources, they want to make sure that you really have them, that you really have a plan for the match. They like trails that rehabilitate existing well-used trails. So if there is a trail that could really use a lot of upkeep, that one is very important. And they want to advance SCORP or other planning goals, and we'll mention that on the next slide, explain what that is. Finally, trails that are destination oriented, which kind of goes back to linkages between networks, linkages between places. They want these trails to connect and really help people to get to places. Provide high levels of user safety, plan for operation and maintenance needs. Again, don't want a trail that's going to need double the maintenance in the next year. And finally, trails that are going to last. So these are all of the goals involved in the program. SCORP, which I mentioned, stands for the State Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan. And this document that you see here is a link. You click on that, it will take you to the plan. There are 5 key themes and strategies within SCORP. So you'll kind of want to make sure that whatever trail you are proposing is helping to advance some of these themes and strategies, some of these goals of the outdoor recreation plan. Municipalities, school districts, counties, nonprofits, and state agencies are all eligible if you receive a grant. If you received one in the first year and it's not done, then they don't want you to apply again. So eligible projects, you can develop new trails, you can renovate existing ones, but it has to be more than just maintenance. They don't want you just going through and like fixing the signs. It needs to be really substantial upkeep. Like they list here, reconstruction of the base and the surface, rerouting them, or replacing structures that have degraded over time. You can also use these grants to acquire land. So that is possible. And there are some types of acquisition also, not just land, but also old railroad bridges. So other assets are also available as usage for this funding. Ineligible, like I said, just regular maintenance. No, you can't do that. Not snowmaking equipment. Not roads. So limited sections of unimproved roads. If you have like paper streets in your community, they might be eligible. But for the most for the most part, you're not going to be able to work on roads. Uh, they don't want sidewalks or gardening, landscaping, park stuff, and they don't want campground or recreation site trails. So the trails within a campground, not eligible. Also, construction improvements that are within federal, state, county, or town road right of way are not eligible. So this lovely bike lane, not an eligible project for the trail program. Um, Round one winners, let's talk about this. So we do know who won the grants in that first round. There were 17.5 million in requests. That was 108 applications. They awarded the full 7.5 million they had set aside. 44 projects were awarded from these applications. The awards were distributed across all 15 counties, and 11 municipalities were among the winners of the awards. So a few, the town of Brunswick, $250,000 for a forested trail, part of the trail at the Naval Air Station, the perimeter trail. They're finishing a portion of that with this funding. Other winners in the first round include the Falmouth Land Trust and Cumberland Chebeague Island Land Trust, and they received funding to connect trails between Falmouth and Cumberland and Chebeague. Long Creek Trail in South Portland is getting some improvements thanks to the South Portland Land Trust. So these are three of the kinds of things that won, and I have provided you a link to all of the winners so you can see all of the projects that did win funding. So just to review, maximum of 250,000 for up to 8 projects, and those will be 2 motorized, 2 non-motorized, and 4 multi-use. Everybody else is going to be capped at 150,000 in this round. The cost share is 10%. So you need to come up with 10% of the total costs you're asking for from the grant, or not 10% of the total project costs. So the grant can pay for 90%. You have to come up with the other 10%. It can be cash or in kind. You can use other grants for matching. So if you have a federal grant that or another state grant that is going toward this project, that can count as your match. They do have the 25, 25, 50 rule still, where they say 25% is going to go to motorized trails, 25% to non-motorized trails, and 50% to multi-use trails. Now, that doesn't mean 25% of applications, it's 25% of the funding is going to these different places. And definitions of those different usages are on page 1 and 2 of the program guidance, which is also linked here. I give this a 6 just because there's a lot of information to put together, and you have to plan ahead because you need reviews from 3 state agencies of your project. 3 state agencies have to say, yeah, this fits. So you need to get all of that done in time. That's kind of why I give it a 6. It's clear, it's easy to understand, it's just a bit of work. Deadline is June 26th. They think the awards will be announced in September. And like I said, there are 2 more rounds of this. So always good to kind of get in and look at this. They're tweaking it a little this year, but I don't think it's going to change too much. So whatever you see, you can kind of plan on for future years. And if you're not ready right now, start getting your stuff together for next year. Oh, one important feature is that when you sign your project agreement, you can ask for up to 25% of your total award as an advance, which is very nice because sometimes it's hard to put up that cash on the front end. The rest of it is reimbursement based, but you can get an advance to start off. Here is what you can do if you're interested. Visit the page, check out the application, the checklist. They do have updated resources coming. Example applications, budget worksheet, updated scoring rubric. They're going to update the program guidance as well. But again, we don't expect that to change too much. There's the list of winning projects from round 1. And then there are some workshops to help you with your application. There's in person, not really in our region, but virtual workshops starting in March. So I would recommend attending one of those for sure to make sure you really understand everything you're putting together. And that, my friends, is it for this windy day. Ooh, 9:15 exactly. Quick, cut it.
Okay, let's cut it. Remember, if it's money, then it's Mondays.
And if it's Monday, then it's money. Have a good week. Stay warm and safe in the snow, everybody, and we will see you next Monday.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.